Welcome back to the channel, everybody. I'm Glenn McGowan. This is At Was Bowen. Today is part 3 of my Porsche transformation series. So the first video I did suspension on the car. I ended up running BC Racing coilovers on it. The second video, I ended up painting my brake calipers red and cleaned up my brake rotors and put my nice little Porsche stickers on those red calipers and turned out really nice. And the last thing I need to do for this car is wheels and tires. So I am going to be using the tires on the car, which are Michelin Pilot Sports, but I needed new rims. So I was hunting down rims for a while and it was like kind of a thing. I really wanted to run some sort of gold wheel or rose gold wheel or bronze wheel. And I must have been doing research for like a week or so. And then I realized, you know what, this is just too much. And it was like a 5-week lead time to build the wheels and stuff like that. And I wasn't 100% sure of what they were going to turn out and look like. So I decided last minute to change it. And I went with a route that I kind of originally wanted to do. In the back of my head was saying, just do this, mainly because it was just kind of like my first instinct to run it this way. It's kind of what I ultimately wanted to do. So I did that, which I'm going to show you here in a second. I did have issues with picking out colored wheels a couple videos ago with my E46. I ended up getting gold BBS rep wheels for it and didn't like it at all. Within like 1 hour with them being on there, I ended up getting rid of them, ordering brand new ones that were silver and liking that. So I didn't want to go down that road and just take a risk on the gold that I didn't see it in person. So that being said, this is the route that I'm going. So let's take a look at these wheels. Let's get some tires on them and get them on this car. This week's video is brought to you by LCOBMW parts. Visit our online store for E36, E46, and E90 parts, or follow us on Instagram at LCOBMW. All the links are in the description below. Okay, so here they are. Pretty cool, right? So I decided to get these. I saw these and I was like, you know what, this will work. This will do the trick for now, just in case I do decide to change my mind in the future, which may happen. So these are Flow 1 wheels or something. I actually saw very similar cars, Carrera S, with these wheels on it, and I was like, you know what, that's it. I ordered them and I made the decision, and here we are right now. So I'm glad I went with these. I already kind of mocked them up on the car. I think they look really good, and it helps seeing them on another car, because that was my problem with other wheels picking them, and sometimes they just don't look right on your car when you get them. And I don't care what anybody says, and like, unless you see your specific car with those wheels all set, all that kind of stuff like that, they may be completely different when you get them. So it's just something you got to kind of keep an eye out with. So the fronts are 19 by 8.5, and the offset is 53 millimeters. So this is a Carrera 2, which is a narrow body car, so they have bigger offsets. So this essentially is a wider wheel, and it will come out a little bit towards the exterior of the car, and it will go in a little bit. So I'm probably gonna have to run spacers. I will check it for clearance. The rear, I'm definitely gonna have to run spacers, which I already have. I think they're 15 millimeter spacers. And the rears are 19 by 12s. So the factory ones are 19 by 11s. And the offset on these are 68, which I believe they're 67, the 11-inch ones from the factory. So I'm going to run a spacer, like I said, like this in the rear, mainly because it's going to probably definitely hit on the inside. So I've already had these actually on the car, so that shouldn't be any issue there. I did mock them up already, and there's plenty of clearance. So the tire will have a little bit of a stretch, so 295s that I have on there, but you can run a wider tire as well. So although these are a little bit wider than the factory, they will do the trick and they're going to look really good. So as of right now, I'm going to run over, get these tires put on here, hang them up on the car, and then get this thing off the jack stands and get some pictures. Okay, so I'm back in the shop now. Got the wheels and tires back here, so turned out pretty good. They look awesome, so I'm excited to hang these things on here. So the rear ones here, they're a little stretched on here, which actually looks pretty good in my opinion. Show you. It's mainly because it's 1 inch wider than the other one. So it's got a little stretch in there, so give me some clearance if I needed to. So that looks good, and then there's our front. So I did just hold this up to the front there, and it doesn't seem like it rubs. It's pretty close to the coilover, so I might be okay without a spacer, but we'll find out in a minute. So when you buy the wheels, they do come with the correct lug bolts that are conical opposed to the factory ones. The only issue that I have is my spacers in the rear. They're 15mm spacers that I needed to get extra long ones to make up the difference. So I did order these, but besides that, like for the front, they were perfectly fine. Okay, so I got everything on. I ended up not having to use a spacer in the front here. There's no issues. And then in the back, I took that 15mm space out and I just used that 1/4" spacer that I had, because I feel like with the 15mm spacer, it was kind of really pushing it towards the fenders, and this should be pretty low, so I don't want to risk any like rubbing or anything like that. So I figured on the safe side, let me just run that like 6mm 1/4" spacer in the back, and that should be completely fine with no issues. So just gonna tire shine these bad boys before I put it back on the ground. Mainly so I can get underneath. Man, wheels, tires, suspension, goes a long way. All right, so I just got off the jack stands here. Sitting good in the front. The rear, I think, is just a little too low. Seems like it's just maybe sagging a little bit in the back. So I might just raise it up maybe like a 1/2 inch or so. So I'm gonna take a quick measurement here to start as like a reference point, and then I'm gonna just kind of raise this up. I'm gonna try to get like a 1/2 inch more in the wheel well gap, because I just feel like it's just kind of sagging a little bit. So a 1/2 inch should do me here. So I'm just gonna raise it up, put it back, and do the other side, and then take some measurements. So I was working on the car late last night trying to dial in the suspension. I did make a couple changes, but right now it's sitting way too low. When I'm driving at the front balance, the lower part just hits the ground, pulling in and out of the driveway, pulling it in the shop, it just scrapes a little bit. So fortunately I'm gonna raise it up. I'm gonna start by doing like 1/2 inch increments. I'm gonna do 1/2 inch all the way around the car, and hopefully that'll do it. Other than that, it drives nice. Another thing I did too was I had issues right out of the gate. Once I got it down originally, when I was only running the 1/4 inch spacers in the rear, the front was rubbing on the springs of the coilover. Once everything was compressed, the suspension, the tire was just rubbing on a part of the spring. So my original plan was to run the 1/4 inch in the front and then the 15mm in the rear, and I should have kept to that because that's actually the math that I did originally when I got these size wheels in the offset. So right now it's good, and the wheels are actually sitting flush with the wheel well, which I kind of wanted originally. So the only thing right now, I'm just gonna jack this thing back up. I'm gonna adjust the coilovers, get it back on the ground, and then just go from there. I absolutely love coilovers, but the initial setup, getting the thing where you want it with no issues and rubbing and stuff like that, especially when you run a different tire from the factory, a little bit time consuming and, you know, robs your joy, but worth it in the end, totally worth it in the end. So I gotta raise back up a little bit here. So time to drive it and go from there. Okay, so that's a wrap. So the car looks awesome. I got the suspension dialed in. I'm really happy with the way it turned out. So a little bit of paint on the calipers, a new set of wheels, and a set of coilovers. It really changes the look of the car, as you can see. So comment down below, let me know what you think. So if you enjoyed the video, hit that like button. Thanks for watching.